Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the NLC. It's day 5 here, and we are just about to bring you Ruddy facing up against Nord. Two teams right at the top of the table, veteran, who've even been beefing a little bit on Twitter as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to see organizations actively participate in stuff like that. I love it when they try to get their guys hyped against each other for something like this. Ruddy are no strangers to beefing on Twitter. I remember them even doing like rap battles against like diss tracks against Australis and stuff like this. So this is not new territory for Ruddy, but this is one of the toughest opponents that they will face. Nord have looked very, very strong against a lot of their teams, and Ruddy, you know, when they were against Riddle, a team that we were looking at of being of equal caliber, they didn't just slightly struggle. That was almost a perfect game that Riddle were able to execute off against them. So we don't want to see any mistakes like that from Ruddy today, because this is a team that's going from strength to strength and has proven, Nord have proven, that they are in fact a triple threat team. That rookie in the top lane, WoW with Akabane, they can carry games if they are left to their own devices. They have proven that, right? Woolite Kasing, they have prestige, right? And Fury in the mid lane's being a mainstay of the NLC for the longest time. Maximum experiences always being one of the best mid laners in the region. It's a dual threat composition Ruddy are up against. They falter a little bit here. We could be looking at another Riddle disaster.
Potentially, as I believe, actually, referencing the trash talking, there is actually a short video that Ruddy has sent us that I believe we've been asked to play, so I'm not sure if we can run that.
Ratatouille. What do baguettes, croque monsieurs, ratatouille, and escargots have in common with Nord? Without French people, no one would know they exist.
Just imagine. You're gonna have to imagine the fire.
Oh, lordy, lordy, lord. Don't shake. What a gentleman. But that aside, veteran, actually looking into this game, we discussed Nord being this sort of triple threat team, and I think that's really the best way to describe them, because I don't look at any of the laners on this roster and see weakness, right? These are all people who I think are going to be top 2, maybe top 3 of their role come the end of the split, and incredibly powerful players going up against the Ruddy side that can also bite back as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, when you look at the side of Nord, you feel like it has a lot of prestige, right? A lot of legacy, right? You look at players like Woolite, Kasing. Kasing's even attended the World Championship, right? Woolite has won LFL multiple times, and you know, Kasing was back in the NLC last year, right? Looking to snatch those trophies. And then you look at Ruddy, and you do have Demboxley in that bot lane has actually won every single split of NLC that he has played, right? So even though he's definitely a rookie compared to the caliber that he's up against, he's a threat, right? And it's that bot lane that I want to see be the difference makers today on both sides, because I know now that WoW Akabane, they can do their thing on the top side, and Woolite informed us that's something that he's willing to let them do against like the lower tier teams. Against Ruddy, I mean, I guess we're gonna find out if they consider Ruddy an upper tier team or not, or if the Woolite Kasing specialist is of solely for Riddle.
Well, Akabane did say in his interview last game day, when asked about if he thought Ruddy would competition, he just laughed. Like, so clearly Nord coming into this with a lot of confidence, and Ruddy coming into this with something to prove. And we're already seeing a little bit of targeting coming out from this champion select, with WoW's pool being focused down that Jackson Darius removed. But a couple of the champs that No Names had a propensity towards with the Maokai and the Elise taken off the board by Nord.
Yep, Ruddy don't want to deal with that top lane from Nord Esports. They don't want this game to be the WoW show. They're taking them Akabane seriously. If Akabane doesn't think Ruddy is going to be that much of a threat, then they're going to try play through WoW. Ruddy are shutting that down. Nord Esports, on the other hand, they want to see another no-name Lee Sin game. They've removed Maokai, they've removed Elise, but they're going to see a Vi. Ruddy are not willing to allow that Riddle event to happen twice. The Sejuani and the Ashe are also off the board. Ashe could be either a Demvoxne or a Nash pick in the current meta. You see that flexed a lot, but the Vi coming down, that restricts the idea of, say, a Zeri lane, of, say, a Lucian lane, Akabane straight onto the Wukong. One of the best bridge playing for team kind of junglers that we have seen for a while is Akabane. Wukong fits very well with that. His Vi was very impactful, actually got them MVP the last time we were casting them, right? That's being removed from him, but honestly, I don't think he's any less comfortable. And the Cassante has come out. You've banned top laners from WoW, right? But Cassante, we've seen how oppressive it can be in team fights, right? How easy even it can be to pilot. You have to hope that Ruddy have an answer to it. Because I look at the Darius ban, and right now I'm just wondering, does that mess up Rifty, a big Darius player, more than it messes up WoW?
Potentially not. I mean, Rifty does have a champion Ocean. We're not going to be seeing it just yet, as the Zeri has been locked in for Demvoxne. So hyper carries in the bottom lane, Ruddy putting their eggs in that basket.
I mean, low range for Nord so far, but they can opt into a Varus. They can opt into a Caitlyn. They can opt into the Lucian, but would you really want to do a Lucian here, especially with the Renekton being locked in like that? The Renekton will get locked. We're not seeing a Yuumi yet. They're potentially worried about Kassim going into something like a Janna, or who knows what they're possibly anticipating here. And it looks like it could just be an Ezreal response. The Bard would be interesting, because a Bard would very much indicate that they want to play heavy towards the top side, but it's a Cassante that they have. None of those are going to get locked in. It's simply going to be an Azir picked. Renekton into Cassante can be a decent matchup if played towards. The Zeri makes a lot of sense with Maokai and Vi basically being removed as options for Nord. Very interesting opening salvos so far. With the Azir being locked in blind though, you want to get rid of things Knight to potentially play into it. That is a really big one, the Kassadin. If I'm thinking back to the past, Knight has even countered Azir with the likes of stuff like Nasus in the past, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see where Ruddy go with this. Nasus also, to be real by the way, it's actually a really good support pick into the Zeri as well. So interesting to actually have to consider that in this drop. It is something you have to do. Of course, he also plays the mainstays like the Victor. He could even do the Akali himself. There's a lot of things you have to consider right now if you're setting up the Azir, and what are they going to blind next, right? Because they're spending so much time buffering this Azir pick that they aren't spending enough time thinking about how they're going to be matching this AD carry, and the ADs are being removed. The Sivir is removed, right? That would be a good way to stick on. What are the other options that Ruddy's going to think of now? What is the options left on the table for Nord? We could even maybe see like a last pick ADC here if you were to remove enough. You've already removed the Lulu. Say that they don't go with an enchant on the bot lane. It could even be a Vayne, just looking at the ranges available to Ruddy right now. Caitlyn down, big one. Varus,
I like the idea of a Vayne. Varus, yeah.
Insta-locked. Insta-locked, yeah. I mean, if you didn't do that, you'd have to just blind support straight up here, and you definitely don't want to do that. Counterpick support, absolutely the intelligent option for Nord Esports. Varus, Caitlyn were the first things we talked about when talking about range. Zeri, still quite low range. High mobility, low range. Azir, Varus, that is difficult to play into. So what's Ruddy's response going to be?
And I'm intrigued that they've opted to go towards the Karma. Traditionally, if the Yuumi is left available to pair up with the Zeri, that's a combo that you just kind of go for. So valuing a little bit more lane priority against the Varus, who can be like such a dominant champ in that stage. And now they've got counter pick here into Fury's Azir. That's a champion that he's played a whole bunch, very, very comfortable on it. Nida, talking about weird responses, something a bit more standard with the Akali, but can absolutely pressure backliners.
Yeah, I mean, the Akali is a normal response. You have R for R, you have E for R2, and you still have Flash on top of that, and you'll have the Hextech Proto Belt on top of all of that. Azir can't get away from the Akali. The Akali can get off her entire burst. And yes, it threatens the full backline as well. You're completely correct about that. Honestly, Nord, by the way, they were able to almost pick their champions in order. Wukong, Cassante were picked in the same rotation, but they basically been top jungle, mid ADC support, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, Ruddy honestly seem to be playing this a bit on the back foot. They have good responses to the team on the right, but how is Vironexon going to survive in towards the Varus, past the Cassante, past the Wukong, past the Azir, right? There's a lot of disengage on the side of Nord Esports, a lot of dive on the side of Ruddy, not very much range on the side of Ruddy at all. I'm gonna say this draft favors Nord, but every time today that I said a draft has favored a team, it's the other team that have won, right? That's basically how it's been going. So it's all up in the air right now, but crucially, this isn't a game where Nord are thinking, we're playing heavy around WoW. This is a game where we're going to see Woolite Kasing play, where we're gonna see Fury play. They're taking Ruddy seriously, right? And Ruddy have to prove that they deserve to be talked about in the same breath as Nord and as Riddle after their showing of Riddle.
I mean, it's really important, right? Because after losing to Riddle, if you then lose to Nord, that's two losses, which I'm going to be honest, Riddle and Nord don't really look like losing to anybody else in the league apart from each other.
Yeah.
And going into the second round robin with losing head-to-heads against both of them is not great. Top two in the league get a seed into the winners bracket in playoffs. They get that extra chance. They can take an L, but they can still end up finding victory in the end. So I think this game, very, very important, not just for the current standings, but even looking forward towards the end of the split.
Yeah, I mean, Nord here would just be consolidating their status as a top two team. We would have a definitive top two of Riddle and Nord coming into the second week. And I finally want to see the Woolite Kasing game, right? I am glad the draft has turned out this way, if so that we can see that bot lane 2v2, it matters. Varus, Nautilus, they'll be a little bit on the back foot. If Kasing lands a sick hook on level 1, then they can be a big threat in this lane. If he doesn't, they have to find these small windows of engages as they're getting pushed in by the Zeri Karma. On the flip side, if the Zeri Karma is able to avoid the Nautilus level 1, then up until level 6, the lane is somewhat theirs. What can they do around the map? Can this Akali be facilitated? These are all the questions I have, and I'm glad I get to ask them because both these bot lanes are full of talent that you've either heard of or have a lot of prestige anyway, right? Nash has performed very, very well, even if he isn't a guy that loads of people are going to think of when they think about Kasing, about Woolite, right? Then Voxnay, he has won 100% of the NLCs he's done, and yes, he's played more than one NLC, guys. So right from the off, this guy is being a force to be reckoned with, right? Like, this is two very strong bot lanes going against each other, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that works. Meanwhile, in mid lane, Naito wants to prove that Mad Lions was an aberration in his career. This guy was a very hotly touted talent. Apologies. But it's on level 6 where we're going to see him finally have agency into Fury there on the Azir. How they play out the map before that, that's the question. How these lanes play out before that, that's the question. And I mean, maybe we're not talking about Akabane, WoW, and No Name and Rifty enough in this one, but this is really a mid and bot game. But if anything explodes up there, it's going to be done on an individual basis. It's going to be Rifty finding something, WoW punishing a Rifty overstay. But it looks like both junglers get the memo. It's top to bot starts for the Wukong and the Vi.
I tell you what, I don't think Rifty or WoW would really mind that too much because these players are a bit more active in terms of the 1v1 and willing to go for aggressive stuff, and top lane is an island such that if you are able to get an advantage in the earlier stages, quite often that is going to precipitate through and towers start falling and your opponent finds it very, very difficult to respond. As you mentioned, both junglers starting on the top side. There was a ward placed by Ruddy on that initial invade, so they know exactly where Akaban is, and then Voxnay and Nash are going to use that information and play around it accordingly.
Then Voxnay playing heavily around this melee minion here, making sure to match Kasing's line on top of him to avoid potential early level hooks from the Nautilus. Kasing were like, they're going to get a hold here, but that is not a freeze by any means. Honestly, that is a bounce back if then Voxnay and Nash choose to have it that way. Firmly in control of the lane, they avoided that critical phase early. Now the windows are much lower, but they still do exist for Woolite and Kasing. And if anyone's going to find it, it's going to be players of that kind of prestige. honestly, even when the drafts have been very bot centric today, somehow the games have found a way to be about top lane, and it's not like we're not going to see a presence from WoW and Rifty later. They can both get on top of these carries, lock them down. WoW on this champion can actually save a lot of his teammates, right? Just because they're going to be ignored early doesn't mean that their presence won't matter. If today, well, today's sample size of 2 games has taught us anything, so the top laners can definitely find ways to be relevant.
I mean, what I'm looking at is 2 top laners that have some decent mobility options available to themselves, and a couple of AD carries. One of those very, very short range on the Zeri, and the Varus, not too much mobility. So oversteps on either side can be punished. Akaban has snuck into this bush, and I don't think that Ruddy recognized this. Then Voxley walking forward, the hook goes wide from Kasing, and the play will falter.
Then Voxney sidestepping Kasing's hook there. You have to wonder if maybe Kasing goes a bit too aggressive there, because I feel like Akabane was in a very good position. Akabane's engage there is point and click, but he does not have the level 6 yet. You do need Kasing to land something eventually, just maybe distract him more by opening there with Akabane's Wukong. But nicely played there by them Voxney. He wasn't falling for it. The wave's moving in on bot, but Karma's going to save it, cancels the recalls by doing so, and gives them Voxney and Nash potentially a window where Nash can try to do something midsection with this Renekton.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Karma is one of those enchanter support that actually has fairly effective roams. The self-speed-ups and the ability to root someone for a pretty damn long time is especially effective, and we have seen top laners being active, getting a shove, and then moving around other parts of the map to try and extend leads in other places. We saw Fyompin do it pretty exceptionally, actually, in the previous game, and then obviously Lingui, the first game of the day on the Gragas, making a lot of things happen. For the time being, Rifty is the one who's been able to get control of that top lane matchup, taking it back to pick up the pickaxe, and in the mid lane, it's Fury who's got minor CS advantage, although Niter is still hanging on.
But Nash, he's here off of that bot lane play. He's here to defend Niter. This is the critical juncture for Niter. The next wave is when he could hit level 6, and he does have teleport. He could, if they get a good wave state here, just recall TP back in and be there with an item on his 6. They just have to make sure he survives. At that point, he does get hooked, but has the Shroud.
Just hit level 6 as well, so a lot more kill threat to the Akali, a lot more safety as well. And I like that the movements that we saw from both sets of players there, recognizing the importance of getting that level 6 on mid lane.
Yeah, it left bot lane in the 1v1, so then Voxney is unlikely to try to trade heavily onto Woolite here in this matchup, but he has at least played safe enough to be able to get the stacked wave in. Great use of the timing there to go mid and escort the Akali in, and it's good that Nash recognized that, because otherwise Kasing could have easily landed a kill there. Kasing immediately went straight mid, knowing that the wave would eventually be good for Woolite. Matching a legacy support there on map movements by Nash, that's a great showing from him, and Kasing showing why he's still a force to be reckoned with in the NLC. Nothing happens, and ultimately that favors Ruddy somewhat, but it was a really good showing by both bot lanes.
I mean, that's the sort of the show of experience is a lot of these roam timers. It's not necessarily the pure mechanical stuff, it's the game sense, knowing where should I be at X moment, and obviously that changes as patches come and patches go, but that instinct is still incredibly important and valuable. Shout out to Rifty, by the way, getting the better end of this top lane matchup pretty consistently, and as he collects this wave, he's going to be almost 2 waves up in terms of CS.
I mean, Rifty returning to the NLC like this is a player that we've wanted to see back for a while. Like, he is a guy that we've known to do it all. But into the Cassante matchup specifically, being left alone 1v1, you can have a lot of impact, because honestly, Cassante looks really, really disturbingly broken in a lot of games. But when he's behind, he's actually not that big a deal. Right? So if Rifty is able to maintain this advantage, maybe even get ahead, maybe even turn something into a lethal on Cassante, you could shut out a big tool to protect Woolite later on. And you have to gradually shut these tools down from Nord, because Nord's composition is scary in a 5-on-5. How do you get your dive off against a Zir wall, against Varus disengage against Nautilus's very existence and Cassante. Very difficult. You have to be trying to remove these potential issues already.
And it's flanks as well, right? It's getting No Name, it's getting Niter in positions that Nord wouldn't necessarily expect them to be in, as Niter going forward for a fairly aggressive trade here onto Fury. Goes right back to the minion. That's very, very cute, as both junglers now hit level 6, thinking about a Rift Herald.
Big issue of mages, no real amount of sustain. You chip them down enough and eventually you know you can just one-shot them. Wukong?
Well, Akaban is kind of in the process. Oh no, No Name! He holds the clone! That's definitely not going in. Don't zoom in on him, man!
The zoom in! The zoom in! I respect it from the camera guy. I respect the lack of respect from the camera guy. I see you, I see you. That could have been an opening kill for Ruddy there, but not to be. No Name, just not patient enough, assumes that he's being bamboozled. But that in itself was all the bamboozling Akabane was willing to do. And Akabane's able to get out with his life, and they missed that opportunity to potentially propel the Akali into the game. They do, however, they still force Akabane out. They do get this Herald. Maybe they can find a way to accelerate it. Okay, another sidestep.
That was pretty clean. I'm not going to lie there, boss.
Honestly, mate, enemy ADC sidesteps me like that twice in 9 minutes, I leave that game. I just want to say that I am not advocating breaking the summoner's code, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I would be very respectful to the skill of my opponent and continue playing at my best. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, okay, that's all very well and good, veteran. But what happens after the third dodged hook? What happens then?
I can't say that on broadcast.
Well, let's not dwell on that too much longer. It's 10 minutes in. Neither team has yet been able to reduce someone's health bar to 0, despite the best efforts of... Do we really have to look at No Name? Every time I look at him, I keep thinking about that play. But traded ultimates with Akaban, that's fine, right?
They got a Herald.
his eye.
You mean the play where they got the Herald?
The play where they got the Herald. I mean, joking aside,
Yes.
that's really, really good for them, and that dedicated pressure in lane is going to be absolutely excellent.
Yeah, I mean, especially... Ooh, play on mid lane?
Niter is pretty damn low. No Name jumping in to try and save his mid laner as then Voxney and Nasha here as well. Actually throws Akaban into the end and gets retribution for that kill. It is going to be a double traded back by Fury as he's pumping so much damage into the health bar of their Voxney. Goes over the wall to dodge away from the Azir. The flashback over Kasing will pull him back as they both fall down. A triple kill for Fury and double buffs to boot.
A triple kill and double buff. Fury is going to be the threat in this game. That was still a very impressive outplay there by Demboxy to pick up a kill for himself. The Herald is still there for half its time remaining on No Name. But look how this play began. Niter gets caught. No Name goes in, tries to delay enough, and they're able to pick up one kill. But look here, they think they can get the execute on them. Voxney, he steps the entire damn thing and gets the trade kill onto Kasing, but he gives his life to Fury, who picked up the first 2 kills and gets the triple kill. You're now dealing with a massive threat in the form of this Azir on the Nord side, but then Voxney was able to claw back a little bit of hope by getting the execute kill on towards the Kasing. And honestly, those kinds of outplays are what they're going to need if they want to pull off this composition.
Yeah, because not only have Nord got pretty strong champions, they're pretty strong players as well. And it's great for these kills to be getting on to Fury. We've talked so much about WoW, we've talked so much about Woolite being strong threats for their team, but the man in the mid lane with NLC residency is no slouch either, and with that Leandries, Ruddy are going to have a lot of difficulty fighting up against this Azir.
Yeah, I mean, the Herald is a really good thing that Ruddy have, though, because it's so difficult for them to just start hitting tower in any of these lanes that they are outranged in, except for potentially top lane. This could be the thing that allows Zeri to open up the game bot, that allows Akali to open up the game mid, but, you know, the first time that they tried to get that off, Kasing was there, got the engage, and Fury got a triple kill. Sure, they got some trade backs, but if you allow one player to get that powerful, you're going to have a bad time. They can't afford to do that again, bot or mid, and they're running out of time on this Herald. It's about to vanish. They have to drop it.
Once again, Ruddy are committing very, very heavily towards this mid lane. 4 members strong, and this time, Nor gonna pull a couple more people. Shelly should be able to get the charge, but Ruddy aren't escorting this one in, and Nor are gonna be able to take it out.
That's big. That's very, very big. Fury very fed. That mid tower at 100% HP. It's very difficult for a team that doesn't have range advantage to play in these scenarios if they can't get those long lane states. Long lanes mean long waves. Long waves bouncing back means you can set up in brushes. Brushes let you close the gap. Terrain lets you close the gap. You want to be able to use the terrain. But if towers are up in all lanes, all you really have to play for is river and those choke points, which makes it very easy for the enemy team to play away from your strengths, which makes it very easy for Nord to leverage this 3-0 Azir.
And the way that the map has panned out as well, you can see that for the most part, it's Nord who have gotten the advantages in the bottom side. That mid lane tower, full HP. They had 5 plates left on their bot lane tower as well, whereas Willite was able to pick up, I think, about 3 from Ruddy's bot lane tower. And Rifty, credit to him as well, he's been playing this lane. It's not really materialized into anything for Ruddy. He's got that Blade of the Rune King now. Maybe you can start applying some pressure with that item, but as it stands, it's Nord who have been getting the better end of this early game, despite the fact that the gold is relatively even.
Shame top lane has never mattered in the history of mankind. Otherwise, Rifty could potentially bring his team back into the game. Kasing constantly going midsection on these waves, making sure that Akali can't just all-in Fury. Yes, Fury is 3-0, but he's not building into tank, so Akali can still one-shot him on first item. So it's good to keep escorting in the mid waves there. That's going to translate into a Drake. The Drake resets. That might give Ruddy some time to launch a contest. Fury locked down all his ults. He's exposed.
Nitro's just jumping onto him, but it's a rampage kill for Fury. Finally, the Azir has been taken out, and Ruddy in a 3v4 are looking to play, but they are being shredded. Wow, with a double knockup, pulls back Den Voxnay, and Akabane sends him back to the fountain. Nord will be able to claim this Chemtech Drake. They get the fight as well. It's going from bad to worse for Ruddy.
That looked so good at the start. Fury basically wasting his ultimate off to the side there, gave the chance to remove him from the fight. Rifty and Niter, they were able to do that, but when WoW joined the fight, he manages to get then Voxnay and Nash into his entire team, prevent them escaping, prevent them continuing the fight on their terms, and that ended up being the deciding factor here. Almost every single time that WoW has done his first grouping, it's being an impactful one, and he's maintaining that in this game.
And now the question becomes for Ruddy, how do you respond, right? Because the game is far from out of your hands. Nord have taken a couple of Drakes, and they happen to be the worst ones. They've got a 1k gold lead, which isn't massive. If you're Hedon right now, the coach for Ruddy, what do you want your players to be doing?
At this point, you're looking to the stage of the game where Nord start expanding the map. When Nord start taking out towers, you're hoping for extensions on their side. Your own towers going down can actually be a net good for you in certain scenarios, and ones like this where you need extensions
hold on. We're getting a pick here onto Akaban. He's going to be able to clone away as Nitro has been rooted on the side. Use of the Chains of Corruption is going to be forced to go back, but that's into the waiting arms of Fury. Those Sand Soldiers deal a load of damage, and he interrupts the flip away to feed another kill to Akaban. Nord are looking a little bit crisper, and they're going to be able to take Rift Herald.
Willite held the ultimate there, didn't just immediately stack it in front of him, so when the Akali went for the flank, he was ready. The root there, very impactful, preventing the Akali going in. They're so conscious of these possible flanks from an Akali or a Renekton, and Nord have a counter to it every time.
Strong stuff, and now you can see the map looking at getting a little bit accelerated. Half HP on our top lane tower. If Fury gets a little bit more time now, it's going to be falling down. Rifty Looking for a little bit of a trade onto WoW, not committing to a full 1v1. Ruddy do need to make a play. I think relying on oversteps from Nord is... I mean, it could work, but Nord have shown themselves to be a pretty disciplined team. And they know what they're about. Posting up in the mid lane, summoning this Rift Herald, trying to take down this tower. Once that mid lane falls, the map is going to be a bit harder for Ruddy to play, as might actually be plotting a dive, as well as there goes Akaban with the ultimate down onto Denvoxnay, who's half HP, but is going to be able to push Chase. Fury is here, as that is a big engage from No Name, but there goes the Azir over the wall. He gets the shove back and delivers Denvoxnay to the waiting arms of the rest of his team. Nord get 2 kills off the play. They may even look to get another tower. They are accelerating this game relentlessly.
If that represents how Ruddy are going to play every team fight, they're not going to be able to win this game. Vi can't just assume that she can go into a full disengaged team like that and expect any real follow-up. Then Voxney tries to follow up on it, but it's basically impossible there. Fury is there, Varus is there, the whole team is there with full disengage tools, full zone control, and you're a low-range Zeri. That can't be how you play these fights. You pretty much have to sit on top of Zeri and let her do her thing, create space and be the zoning tools for her. But if No Name's going to feel pressured to do an engage or something like that here, this is the wrong kind of composition with which to do it. You can try to make picks like Dominoes were doing the previous game, but these 5-on-5, 3-on-3, even-numbered engages are not going to work out.
Nash gets the heal from that focus resolve, but Fury will send the Sand Soldiers forward and claim another kill for himself. Will I potentially isolated, but No Name doesn't pull the trigger with the cease and desist. He is going to be able to get that Skull the Crab and pull away, but the fact that we could already be looking at Nord starting up a Baron on spawn at this stage in the game, it's risky, right? And you look at how Ruddy have been playing, and they've not been able to contest. They've not been able to find plays of their own, and they are running out of time. That gold lead for Nord is 4,000 gold, and so the number of plays that you've got available to yourself have been massively reduced.
That thing Nord just did to Nash, that's the kind of thing Ruddy need to do to Nord, right? Nord are kind of giving them some help there by being like, you know guys, this is how it's done. And Ruddy should honestly learn from that, because right now, it is difficult to think of them in the same lines as Nord and Riddle based on this first round wobbin. We have to see more for the next 10 minutes. And Ruddy, like Nord, have typically been a team that has scaled in later on in the game. Compositionally, that's still kind of true when it comes to damage, but we need to see that happen in terms of execution as well.
Knights are potentially caught on the top side. Kasing moving over. He's going to pull that ultimate down onto Akali. There is no way to dodge away from that, and it's another kill for Fury. The Azir blind picked in the mid lane is showing up a Storm. 6, 1, and 4 on that reset. Going to be picking up the Rabadons as well. It's going to be so difficult to deal with him in the next fight.
Yeah, 100%. Meanwhile, the Akali, I mean, she needs this second item to guarantee one-shots, especially with the Varus going Immortal Shilbo build. Otherwise, her only real target is an Azir that can do as much damage as she can in terms of burst now, and that's saying something when it comes to a Conqueror Azir. Very risky. Zonya's coming out on Woolite here. This is a rough one right now. Honestly, for all their engages, the options are rapidly diminishing. You need isolated picks, but those groupings don't ever seem to be there for Ruddy.
And this is why Nord are so good. Not only have they got these very high-level players, but they also just seem to be playing together extraordinarily well and extraordinarily respectfully. You can see Nord just shoving out that mid lane, looking for a bit of priority, and Ruddy constantly thinking about engages, but they're never in a position to catch out Nord, because you look at Woolite and he's constantly got someone next to him. You look at Akaban going for these engages as well. It's so hard to find an angle.
I mean, Cassante is the one where they could maybe do something, but now that Baron is up and the Azir is so fed, there's a very real threat that Nord just do the Baron. This is Nord's game to win 100% right now, right? That triple kill on Azir has been leveraged. That first fight around Drake has been leveraged. They win, and this death squad of Akabane, Woolite, Kasing is almost impenetrable, and it's very difficult to find other picks on sides because it's either super high HP, super far away from Baron, or the death squad of the Varus, of the Nautilus, of the Wukong is leaning towards it. Nord have the map locked down. The game is in their favor. The question for them is merely a case of when they will win, rather than if.
And, I mean, they could go towards the Baron, or in a couple of minutes' time, they've got a Hextech Soul waiting for them as well. They've not only been able to build a gold lead throughout these early stages, throughout these first 20 minutes, but they've got an objective lead as well, and that's not something that you typically see, or we have typically seen, from a lot of our teams here in the NLC. And at this point, for Ruddy, what do you even do? You've got 2 items on their Voxnay, you're getting towards 2 items on Knights, so these guys are going to be able to do damage, but the issue is, you can't find the people to do damage to. The Baron has been started up, and I'm not sure if Ruddy are going to be able to get here in time.
It's Varus Azir, a very, very fed Azir, and a Varus. This thing just gets deleted, especially with on him.
Yeah, as does No Name, as he comes in a little bit too late to contest, and will pay for it with his life. Rifty being a reasonable tank in the front line, but Nord see absolutely no reason to stop as Nita looks for an assassination but dies himself. Den Voxnay is kiting to his heart content as actually Nord are losing a little bit of damage. The burn down is just enough as the stopwatch will keep Woolite alive. Rifty is going to be able to find a shutdown onto Fury. The hook narrowly missing Nord. Playing with fire a little bit, but it's Ruddy who are getting burned. Nash has overstepped and will be the 3rd kill. No, not quite. Just able to get away. But Nord, they get the fight, they get the Baron, they are in control.
And that right there is why it just was never a real plan to go bot lane and try to make a play on the behind Cassante. You can't do that because if you take your eyes off the Baron for a single second against an on-hit Winzu's Rageblade Varus and this monstrous 7-kill Azir, the Baron just goes. And look at that, they bait them in, they already have the Baron. It's difficult for them to ever engage at any point, but this right here is the one ray of hope for Ruddy. Then Voxnay kites them back and the damage he's doing is still immense. That Zhonya's isn't up, he gets the kill. He's 1 kill more, he gets the kill. Varus is 1 kill behind, he gets the kill, right? There are loads of things that could have gone just a little bit better early there, and they win that fight outright. Then Voxnay didn't even have his teammate there. That's the only thing Ruddy can hope for right now, is that Nord spread themselves thin again in the fight, then Voxnay does something like that, and the rest of the team are actually in a position to follow up. Just chill with your dives and play on them, Voxnay. That's basically all you can do right now. Another neutral just getting deleted by Nord.
Oh, this is very smart. They are not risking No Name stealing this one away. Ruddy
they know
looking
they
for
fights.
some flanks with those Hex Gates. Rifty still on the bottom side, not really involved in anything just yet. Nord still DPSing the Drake. No Name looking to get over the wall and steals it away. Hope for Ruddy, but can they get out of this fight? It's already the first kill going in favor of Nord as Den Voxnay is trying to do as much damage as he can. Rifty is locked in the pit with multiple members, and the arrow will snipe down Den Voxnay. The Hextech Soul will not be going in favor of Nord, but with that fight, they are looking at inhibitors.
I mean, they get the steal, but the following fight doesn't even vaguely look close. You'd think that Nord had the karma on their side with how much they were able to sustain up. But no enchanters here, just a 17-4, 8k gold lead being leveraged, monstrously fed carries. Varus, off the back of that fight, now joining Azir up there in the 5-kill plus club. This is an extremely difficult game under any circumstance. The steal was very nice, buys them a little bit of time, but did you really lose that much as Nord, when you take the rest of these kills, taking out Vidair, Rifty in the middle of them, can't even get onto Woolite, and when he does, the Zhonya's is there once again. Akali is out of here, sees the writing on the wall on 1 HP. Then Voxnay the only one again, but this time, doesn't look like he's firing bullets, more like a Nerf gun.
And we talked about what this game meant for Ruddy and for Nord at the top of the day, right? If Nord can win, they extend to 5-0. They keep themselves as one of those top 2 teams. If Ruddy take the L, then they're going to be forced low. They're looking for an engage here, and they may actually be able to get it. Kasing is already incredibly low, but the stopwatch will keep him alive, and Nord have more damage than Ruddy can contend with. Then Vox, they throw it over the wall. A double kill for Akaban. Make that a triple kill for Akaban, as no one dies on the red side team. They're going to run down mid. They're going to run down Nash, and Nord are heading to 5-0.
4 stopwatches on the side of Nord, and only 2 of them were actually used in that fight. Wukong, Azir, their stopwatch is still up. Varus just came off the cooldown. The game is just done. That's it. Nord and Riddle are a clear top 2 in the NLC for the first round robin. Ruddy have a lot to prove in the second round, but they have not yet proven that they deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as the dominating Nord and the dominating Riddle.
A sub 30-minute win. When Akaban said on his post-game interview the other day that he didn't consider Ruddy as competition, laughed at the idea of them being competition, maybe he knew something we don't, because that game was incredibly clean. There were moments, maybe, where Denvox, they could have popped off in that fight, but even then, that's just to get Ruddy back in the game. Nord were in such an unassailable position, it felt like.
Then Voxnay looked very good, but he looked very good on the losing team. Nord, on the other hand, looked basically invincible. Even in the points where they lost something, they gained so much that you could only call each engagement a Nord win. So this, to me, was an absolute statement game by Nord. Akabane absolutely proved his point on the Wukong there. Fury, Woolite had brilliant games. Woolite was a very, very consistent player there. The ultimate to prevent Akali coming in around the Herald fight was instrumental, and Fury just an absolute monster, right? An absolute monster on this game. Somewhat the Fury show, to be honest, from this game, because Sing's roams towards midsection were great, and WoW didn't have the best game, but when he did group, he was very impactful still, right? A lot of this was due to the rest of his team just being so unassailably far ahead that Nord couldn't be questioned, no matter what it was they did. The game was in their hands in draft, the game was in their hands from the first contest, the game never left, and they closed that hand and ran that fist through in towards Ruddy's Nexus.
I think it's so interesting that for the first few games of this split, we saw WoW on stuff like the Jax, on stuff like the Olaf, where it is about him being the carry, but on the K'Sante for a couple of games, and whilst it hasn't been big carry performances, whilst there have been a couple of CS deficits here, he's still been able to function on the champion, and this guy coming in, who we thought he's going to be all about that split push, he's all about that hard carry, he's showing different styles, and for a young top laner to be able to do that, very, very impressive.
It is, and you have to think, though, like, we would expect more that a rookie would be doing that from the off, would be just letting it be the Fury show, letting it be about Woolite Kasing, letting it be about his experienced lanes. It's hats off to Nord, to me, to let WoW show us his Olaf, show us his pushing carries topside, and you know what? That actually helped in this game because he drew the first 2 bans from Ruddy. Right? They had to immediately consider, these guys can play around WoW. We can't just ban out Fury, we can't just ban out Woolite. We have to make sure we deal with this threat in the top lane. And yeah, like that's already a really good reason to play to some player like that.
Right, Veteran, I'm going to have to stop you there because I believe we've got an interview ready with... what's the opposite of victorious? Oh my word, it's... Don Jake, are you okay?
Sorry, I have to turn the broadcast off in the background. I'm still watching on the delay. 1 second, please.
Okay.
Hello, lovely to speak with you, Middlecourt. It's me. I'm the least French Nord fan.
Okay, that's something. So, Jake, sort of.
Sorry, 1 second. I've got my garlic here. I'm going to be doing some cooking later.
Okay. So I guess my first question to you is, would you rather be French or have won that game?
Listen, well, as you can see from my appearance, I'm French through and through. I bleed for France. The blue wall is strong, and so am I.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. Looking at that game, that was rough. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. Didn't really feel like you guys really were in that game very, very much. What were the issues today, mate?
Oh, absolutely. But, Regan on the interview, he talked about Den Voxney's Uncle Cat has been brought in for questioning. I feel like he's partially responsible for the events you have seen unfold in front of you. Potentially, but I don't know. We play with the Rift Herald not so good. We are not making poetry on the Rift, as they say.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. But obviously, this match is your second loss against one of these teams that we were looking at being towards the top of the table. So you guys are 3-2 now. Puts you in not the best place looking towards the second round robin if you are going to be pushing for those top 2 playoff spots.
Well, listen, I'm in a bad place. Not mentally, I'm just in France. But, these things happen. We have to scale up with the playoffs, continue to grow as an organization. And I think come playoff time, we will be able to beat Nord. And it's going to be very good for all of us.
Excellent. Well, Jake, this has been an interview.
I've got a serious note, though. On a serious note, to switch to my, general accent. Happy birthday to Rifty today. It's actually his birthday. I don't know if the broadcast is aware. Anyone in chat, listen. This is obviously a joke, but let's be nice to each other. We've obviously lost. Well played to Nord. Good win from them. It's Rifty's birthday today. Fortunately, couldn't get a win today, but we love him. He's been with us for ages. I also wanted to raise awareness and give a shout out because Arka, our team manager, also coach in some capacity as well. He's from Turkey. He's obviously knows people. There's a big humanitarian crisis that's occurring over there. I wanted to raise awareness very briefly over to anything that's going on over there. You can check his Twitter out, Arka He's sharing a lot of relevant links. I don't personally want to say them in case I make a mistake, but if you go to his Twitter profile, you can guide towards that, maybe make a contribution. We've got a lot of people in here that are clearly very passionate and care about League of Legends, even if you're not originally here for the NLC. You're here now. Let's all band together. There's some things that are bigger than League. We might have lost today, but there's a lot of people right now struggling, and I just wanted to bring some brief attention to that beyond the jokes and whatnot. So that's from me.
Absolutely, Jake. Echo that sentiment. Obviously, everyone here at the NLC is the thoughts, feelings are with everyone who is currently being affected by this situation with Turkey, and we're all hoping for the best possible outcome. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us, Jake. Unfortunate loss today, but I'm sure you guys are going to be bouncing back soon.
Yeah, no worries.
Right, veteran.
That section was not okay by me. Just letting you guys know.
That was very much a Don Jake interview.
Yes, and we will never speak of it again.
I agree. Well, now we are going to be speaking to the coach of Nord, Nico, who's coming off the back of that win. You guys sat 5-0 right at the top of the NLC table. How are you guys feeling at the moment?
I mean, looking our scrim results, honestly, we are pretty happy. Because I don't know if you saw, but recently, right now, we have like around 10% win rates. Yeah. And this is basically like complete disaster in scrim, to be fair. So I'm really happy that I have a complete different team in official that are able to like play really well.
Mate, let me just tell you, all right? In my experience, when you have terrible, I was going to say words I can't say on broadcast, scrim weeks, that's when you just have the clean 2-0 weekends, all right?
Yeah,
it's always ends up being that way.
At that point, this is not about terrible week. Like for now, we are more about a month, you know? Like this is like we are really committed about inting Scream right now.
So
That means you're committed to winning on stage. That's all I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I take it. I take it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, but unironically, like, when you have bad scrim weeks, when you get on stage and things start working, you enter a comfort zone that you don't enter anywhere else. If stage ends up being your comfortable place, that's actually quite good mentally. That's also why some teams will just take a break from scrims, reset, and then suddenly do really well the next week. So, don't feel so bad about it. I think you should expect to be doing well. Your team's very good, and you've done a very good job with the team, regardless of if you're winning or losing scrims. It's clearly developing in an upward direction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the real worry is when you guys start winning scrims. I think then maybe we've got some issues.
That's just it. You quit.
Maybe we will never know, you know? Maybe we will never know.
So looking forward, right? You guys have played against Ruddy. A couple of you guys have been fairly outspoken, thinking that not really a team that is going to challenge you too much. And honestly, based on that game, I tend to agree. Riddle is the next big obvious opponent for you guys that playing against them is going to be a real challenge. How are you feeling looking forward towards that matchup?
I think on a strategic perspective, we are pretty confident because like the only thing that I can be a bit worried about right now, looking our main weakness that are mainly laning phase in my opinion, is that there is not any team, I think, in NLC that are able to snowball early game. So because of that, Riddle in the same way. So this is basically a bit who will team fight better. And this is something that we are practicing a lot. This is something that we still need to step up on, obviously. So it will be, I think it will be a really good game. And if there is one game that for sure we can lose is this one. So I really want to see how it will go next week.
I'm sure it's going to be really exciting for us and maybe a little bit more nerve-wracking for you, hopefully. Well, Nico, thank you very much for coming and speaking with us. Congratulations on the win today and best of luck for your future matches.
Yeah, I have one last word to say. It's the birthday of my of Akabane father today. So happy birthday to him. And thank you to give me in charge of your son.
Aww.
Yes, thank you. He's
Happy
very good at
birthday to
juggling.
Akabane's dad.
Thank you guys for the
Thank
the
you,
interview.
bye-bye.
Have a good night, bye.
Cheerio.
A lot of birthdays today, veteran.
Yeah, I know.
Rifty, Akabane's
Weird,
dad? There's no way. That has to be a coincidence. Well, I mean, it is a coincidence. That's how coincidences work.
Definitionally, yeah. There has to be a coincidence. Yeah.
Right, we're going to be going to a short break now. Coming up after this is the match of the day. We have got Riddle facing off against Verdun. Stick around, you don't want to miss it.